and good evening. Glad to have you all here with us this evening. I'm Keith Hooper here in Central California. We're joined by our good friends, Dr. Barry White out of Ontario, Canada. Good evening, Dr. White.
Good evening, Keith.
And our good friend Doug LeClaire out of Canada as well, where it's nice and warm. Right, Doug?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Good evening,
Okay.
Keith.
Good evening. Glad to have you here. So once again, these Wednesday night calls are about obviously our Immunocal Platinum, as well as our other great products, and we put the caveats in here. The products of Immunotech research do not cure anything, but as Hippocrates said some 2,500 years ago, let food be thy medicine, and simply the most important food you can use is Immunocal Platinum, as well as our other great products. Well, the concept of tonight's call is a little bit different than what we've done in the past, and you know, the science is what separates Immunotech from everything else. It is the science. It's the science of the brain studies. It's the science of the longevity studies. It's the science on the kids with autism. It's on the sides of the studies on healthy aging and longevity and mobility and all the things that are there. And, you know, Dr. White, it is that science where we're able to, where we talk about and kid about, but it's so true. You know, Immunocal, tested on people, but safe for animals, right?
Yep, just the perfect example of what everybody wants, tested on people and proven to be adequate. No, not adequate, superb.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Doug, as we look at this and we think about how, you know, how important the pets are to a lot of us in life, that we have our pets and that emotional support that we get from them and how we want to help them. And there's not much we can do for a loved one, whether it be a person or an animal, to get them on Immunocal, right?
You know what's interesting, Keith, is people will spend sometimes 10 times more on their pets than they do on their own health. And my neighbor, she said to me that she totaled up all that she'd spent on her dog with toys and beds and grooming and that. It was about $9,000 for the year. Crazy.
For the year?
For the year, yeah. That would buy a few boxes of Immunocal.
That'll buy a few boxes of Immunocal. So why does this matter? It matters because when we're talking to people and they say, well, you know, I don't know if Immunocal will work for me or not, and absolutely you're right, you don't know until you try it. But, you know, we share with people, you know, when we look at our pets and we look at animals, and we've got our good friend Genece Miller tonight that's going to share a couple things that she's experienced with people over the years. But, you know, one of the things that we talk about, you know, if you're satisfied with the fact that your pet, your dog doesn't jump up on the couch anymore, you know, they're just laying on the floor and whatever, don't put them on Immunocal. And for heaven's sakes, don't put any K21 in their water. Okay, whatever you do, because they'll be back up on the couch. Just sure as the world, Dr. White.
K21, how, by the way, has anybody had any experience with K21 in animals? It tastes sure good for humans.
Yeah, but the K21, I mean, if you want to see that, just put a little bit in the water. Put the, you know, give them the Immunocal. And once again, when we talk about this, the beauty of it with the animals. So let's talk about these animal studies. You know, all the years ago, when a lot of us that are on this call, I know Genece and you, Dr. White, and many others, Doug, and as well. You know, when we saw the research that came out on longevity, you know, the studies were done with animals. And what they did is they fed the lab rats, okay, and these lab rats were roughly 50 years of age in human years when they started them on Immunocal. So they didn't start them as babies. They didn't start them as teenagers or young. They started them at approximately 50 years of age in humans. They put them on Immunocal, and they followed them. And the group that got the Purina rat chow, and yes, there is such a thing as Purina rat chow. One group got Purina rat chow Immunocal, one got the Purina rat chow Encasient, whey powder, one just got the Purina rat chow. The group that got the Immunocal with their Purina rat chow outlived the other two groups by 30 to 50%. Okay? That's a huge thing, and that was when I had the conversation with Dr. Bunos all those years ago, and I said, that's really great. When are we going to see the human studies? They said, you know, longevity studies in humans take 50 years, and I know Sandra and I and Genece and Michael Miller and you, Dr. White, and Fern, and a lot of the people on the call, we're all part of an open trial. We're on Immunocal, and we're going to tell people what it's like after we've been using it for 50 years. So the animal studies were the first ones that were there, but, you know, these animal studies, whether it be brain health, or whatever translates back to our pets. And I think that's one of the main things we want to talk about, Dr. White.
And here's the question. Will all the magnificent things that happen to humans and have been proven and tested in clinical studies, will that also be true for animals? That's a really good question, and eager to find that one out.
Well, we're gonna hear about that tonight. So, Doug, before we go to Genece, you got anything you want to set on the table tonight before we bring our good friend Genece Miller on?
Well, that study you mentioned, Keith, was the one thing that grabbed a lot of people's attention. And it's hilarious what Dr. Bunos responded to you about saying with respect to human studies on longevity. And he told you, he said, Keith, human studies, longevity take 50 years. Do you want to wait for that? Do you want to wait for that research?
Well, we are now. Yep.
We are.
We're on the board.
We're on the board. And, this is one of the beautiful things about this business. We have a lot of friends. We have a lot of people that we care about and know. And one of the very first people, if not the first person that Sandra and I talked about, was our good friend Genece Miller out of Las Vegas, Nevada now. And Genece has had a lot of experience with this, with her pets and with others. And we got Genece scheduled for 2 of these Wednesday night calls. One of them here is talking about the pets, and then we're going to coax her back to tell you about that slowing down of the aging process that her and Sandra have both benefit from. So, Genece, thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for bringing some of these stories about these pets and what you've seen over the years.
Well, Keith, it is my pleasure to be here. I am honored to be here. I am grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here because I am nowhere but anywhere else because of you and Sandra Hooper inviting me to join you in this business some 25 plus years ago. I was gifted with this. I took it under my arm and I ran with it because it was just a joy to know that there was another way to be healthy, and to not only for me, but for like you were talking about, our love furry family. We all have love furry family. That's not easy to say all the time, but yeah, I'm really grateful to be here. I would love to share stories. I could go on and on because 26 years later, I have so many stories that I've shared the product with. I've been blessed with keeping my health well. I used to work in a casino, and now I don't. I've been home for all this time, being able to work from home because of the product. The product blessed so many people, and it blessed so many furry friends. And I have a beautiful family of furry friends. I've always had dogs and shared it with anybody that knew, about the product. And one of my favorite stories was I was helping a girlfriend who she was dealing with a battle of cancer. And thank you, God, we were able to help her through that one. And she knew what the product was that helped her to get through it, because she didn't do the other stuff. She only did this, which was Immunocal and Immunocal Platinum. But she shared it with somebody that was working with her on a different level in business, and their little furry pet, I believe it was a Lopsu, had throat cancer, and it was 7 years old, but the doctor said, I don't think it's going to live a week. I don't think it's going to make it. So they were beside themselves. And Candace, my good girlfriend, she told them to contact me, and we discussed it, and they got it immediately. I mean, they air-shipped it. They dropped it. I mean, they said, I want it now. So they got it. They put it in the doggy system, and within a week, they said their dog returned to puppyhood. And it wasn't a baby puppy. It was an older, middle life puppy. But I'm just going to say that the dog lived on for another 7 years. Wow. And what a blessing to me that is to help people and their furry family because I love my pets, and I know a lot of people love their pets more than just anything. And we don't want to see them die or waste away or being suffering. So having this in our arsenal of many things and knowing that the animals that were given this product live 30 to 50% longer, wow.
Well,
So my little, go ahead.
so Genece, let me ask you. So, yeah, to that point. Okay, so we've been around this a long time, and we're animal lovers. On these Wednesday night calls, you can hear some of the Blue, the one cat that likes to talk when I'm on on these calls. He likes to scream out. But to the point that we share with people, if you want your animals to live longer and be around, don't put them on Immunocal. If you don't want them to live a lot longer, if you don't want to add an extra 20 to 30% to their life expectancy, because that's what we've seen, and that's what you've seen as well, right, Genece?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had so many pets in my life, and I actually always had big pets like Rottweilers, Rottweilers or Rottweiler mix rescues, and I rescued a lot of animals and loved them dearly, and they loved me because they knew I saved their life, and I put the Immunocal powder on their product all the time, and for older dogs to live 12 to 14 years. What I'm talking about, we're talking about 100-pound to 140-pound Rottweilers. And that's a lot of weight to manage and handle, but they live long lives, and I was grateful because most dogs don't live that long when they're that big.
Oh, you've seen this. I know you had some friends, I believe, down the street that had a small dog that had a problem as well, right?
Yes. And once again, people are so grateful when you help them to save the life of their pet because they don't know what to do. And I know that. I mean, you can't, you go to the vet, they don't know what to do either, really. I'm sorry if there's a veterinarian on this call. I'm sorry. I apologize. But, it's just like regular medicine. Well, let's see. Let's try this injection and see if this serum works, or let's try this. But you know what? Animals don't have that filter. They just know, oh, this works. I like it. And you could see the result in their physical activity, and they recover, and they have a new found, I'm sorry, I like to use the word puppyhood, because they're like fun again. They get their life back. My dog right now, she's a rescue. I found her. Somebody found her before me, though, and we don't know how old she is, but she's at least 17 to 18 years young, and she doesn't know how old she is either. She just thinks she's a puppy some days, and so every morning she gets her Immunocal powder on her food that I actually do home cooking for her a lot, but, on top of that, I don't think that has anything to do with how important the Immunocal has been.
So let me get this straight. You cook for the dogs. This dog is not spoiled, right?
Not at all.
Okay. But I think what's most important to our listeners tonight is, if you've got a dog that's ill or a cat that's ill, or you've got the stuff that's there, you want to get them on Immunocal, and you want to get them on the regular Immunocal. I don't know about the platinum. I would use the regular Immunocal. You want to look at that, and Blue is going to sing for you guys in the background. But, the longevity issue, I was sharing, I think I don't think I did it on a Wednesday night call, but, we had a little cat by the name of Sissy, and she had a number she was born with a lot of little health issues, from cataracts in her eye to, deformity with the hips and all this stuff when she was a little kitten, and she just showed up here and whatever, and we took her to the vet, and they wanted to take her eye out because of the infection and the cataracts and all this stuff. Well, we got it, and the vet said it's not going to get any better or whatever, but we get her on Immunocal. Not only does the eye stop weeping, over a period of time, the cataract just about disappeared. I don't know how much vision she had, but she had some vision, and she lived for at least 22 years. She might have been 23. but I know she was at least 22. Well, if you go to the internet and you put in 22-year-old cat, they're going to tell you there is no such thing. Because at 16 years of age for a cat, that's an 87-year-old human. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. That's the things that we have, Genece. We're blessing people, with their pets. We're blessing, and they can see it because there's no placebo effect. Because I don't tell any of these cats I'm giving them Immunocal. Do you tell your dog you give them Immunocal?
No, I just say, here, I got some special good food for you, honey. Eat it.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, thank you, Mama. And she just gobbles it up. And by the way, and nobody on this call understands this, Immunocal has no taste. And it's just a little white powder that you sprinkle on the food. It virtually is tasteless. But the dogs love it. They know it's good for you. And she eats it right up. She loves it. And I'm just saying, I know that she's getting the best possible nutrition in the world. And is she worth it? Absolutely. She's like our baby. My husband and I are empty nesters, right? Go ahead.
Well, and Genece, to that point, with the cats that we have, the rescue cats that you guys are hearing, and because this show went to the dogs and cats, it was gone to the animals. You can hear them tonight more than usual. But the point that we're looking at, like with the cats, we're only talking about one packet for a week or longer. We'll take care of that for a couple of them. It'll take care of a couple of the cats. And so how much Immunocal do you give the Rottweiler?
Oh, well, the Rottweilers are not with me any further, but I would give them at least a half a pack because they're 140 pounds.
Right.
I would, whatever. You know what? It doesn't matter. You know why I say this? Whatever it takes.
Right.
Whatever
and you're going to be able to see it, right? You're going to see. Yeah. You're going to be able to see it in the dog.
Well, the whole concept of the Immunocal and why it's in the PDR for preventing cancer, tumors, and HIV is because it's proven. It's clinically proven. And it was proven to work on rats, white rats, and white mice. And if it worked on them, why wouldn't it work on my Rottweiler or my little Yorkie or my little whatever? But I've had all big dogs until now. The point is tumors. It's the tumor reduction. You know what? It's visible. You could see that shrink. And I've seen it shrink because if one of the dogs has a fatty deposit, a tumor, and it goes away because of Immunocal, that's the only extra thing I put in, their food, right? Hello?
Yep.
It's Immunocal.
It's Immunocal. And to that point, Genece, so once again, if you're listening here tonight, once again, don't tell your animal you're giving Immunocal because we don't want any placebo effect. Okay, if you're listening to the recording on YouTube, whatever you do, don't tell the animals we're testing it. But there's no placebo effect with the animals. But you made an interesting point. I want to bring Dr. White back in here just a moment, Genece. One of the things we talk about with Immunocal is Immunocal shrinks tumors, right, Dr. White?
Yep, all kinds. No matter what they have, that C word in front of them, or just they're benign or whatever, tumors shrink with Immunocal. I guess the real reason is that the immune system, those big T cells, they love to chew up cancer cells. They don't even spit them out. They just chew them up and put them away. And so we see this no matter what it is, whether it's a cyst, ovarian cyst or something like that, they just chew them up. And so maybe all of the biochemistry we may not still understand, but it sure does the job.
Well, to that point, Genece, of what Dr. White's talking about over the years, because, unfortunately, these doggone cats know that this is a good place for a rescue, so they show up here. I don't go hunting for them. Okay. Right. But it's amazing to me that all of them that show up here need something. Okay,
Uh-huh.
it's like they got a, I'm the last stop on the track. Okay, and over the years we've seen so much, because I wasn't even thinking about the tumors, but we've had a number of cats that showed up here that we were dealing with that had a tumor issue and whatever, and we put them on Immunocal and the tumor shrink. Okay, just like little BB. Now BB, some of these cats were able to move along and whatever, but some of them are really special needs, like Sissy was, and there was another cat that we call BB. They were both really special needs type of cats, and BB had all kinds of issues, okay? And, I think she only lived, I don't know, like 15, 16 years of age, and she was a very, very special, she was a really, special needs type of cat. And then little Sissy had a lot of little needs, that went with her. And like I say, she was 22, 23. I don't think she made it to 24. I think she was either 22 or 23 years old. It's pretty interesting when you have them so long you can't remember. Okay,
Yeah.
because it's just here. But those are things that we want to share with people, Genece, is, and once again, not all the cats that show up here are, really have a lot of problems. Okay, like Blue, he has no problem. He's a singer. Okay, he's got opera cat. Okay, his problem is just being just a little bit on the squirrely side. Okay, and so it'd be hard to rehome him. But your final thoughts, Genece, for people tonight on their pets and Immunocal?
Well, there is no other way or better way than to help your pet live a long and healthy life. If your pet is healthy now, sprinkle a little powder every day. Just let it resonate within their system, keep their immune system happy. Anything that comes up, it can be fixed with their immune system, and their immune system can be fixed with Immunocal.
And how many people have come back to you and thanked you for introducing them to Immunocal?
Oh, gosh. That's what I live for. I mean, I live for that. It's been such a blessing. So many people come back and thank me, or, oh my God, in the moment, like their dog was going to go down. They were going to put the dog down, and they got another 7 years or another year, another, who knows? Because, they're just so blessed and they're happy. And then, of course, they love the product. And then they use it. Oh, I could use it on myself, too. Oh, okay. I'm going to share it with other people, too. Okay. So that's how we help people that help people that help people and their pets.
Well, thank you, Genece. Thank you for sharing that. If you'll hang on here for a little bit, let me go back to my good friend Doug LeClaire. So, Doug, as we're talking about these pets, it's kind of interesting as people that we know and why they want to get their pets on Immunocal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had so many great pet stories over the years, Keith. I remember Louise, this woman, she went on one of her bus trips, and she brought her dog just to the parking lot, just so we could have a look at her dog. And what a transformation. She was considering having the dog put down, and it just brought new life into that dog in about 3 weeks with Immunocal. So, yeah, just an amazing, amazing product. And I have so many great stories on pets. Yeah. So back to you, Keith.
And the thing we know is, Immunocal works every time given time, and with animals, the good news is it generally doesn't take very long. So we make that normally for humans. Immunocal works every time given time. Sometimes time is not our friend. The good news with the animals is it seems to work quicker. They seem to metabolize it quicker, Dr. White. It seems that when we start putting it on there, that response that they get seems to be much quicker. I don't know if it's because they have an aging process that's quicker than us, that makes it more visible for us. I don't know why it seems to work that way, but I know when you start to give it to an animal, the response time seems to be a lot quicker than we have on some of these silly old people that don't take it at the right time, right?
The metabolism is higher in animals, like the temperature and so on is a bit higher. So it may well be that extra metabolism. Can I tell you one of my stories? We had a gal in Toronto who had she lived in Toronto, get a new job in Vancouver. That's a 3,000-mile trek to go across. Her cat was 12 years old and not expected to survive the trip. So she was anticipating, she had the Immunocal, just had it just then, for the cat. And so she anticipated that she'd be saying goodbye to her cat sometime, someplace, because she's traveling by car, moving her goods out. And the last time I checked with her, the cat was 20 years old and still alive. So that's one of the interesting stories, going from positive, potential grief to exuberance in the trip. So another one of these cat stories.
Well, like I say, if you do a internet search, and like I say, if you pull up a 16-year, because if you could just go in and say, in human years, what's a 16-year-old cat? It'll tell you it's either 83 or 87. I don't remember, whatever. But if you put in how in human years, how old is a 22-year-old cat? It doesn't give you any numbers. Or a 20-year-old cat. But Sandra and I and Genece and Dr. White and Doug, and all of us that have been here for a long time, we all have people that have had those experiences. So before we open the call up, Genece, anything else you want to add to this evening?
Well, I only gave you a glimpse of how many people and pets that have been blessed by the product that I know. And then there's so many that, because of our networking, where we share and somebody shares it and you don't even know who they shared it with. I hear so many wonderful stories about so many pets that we have helped them live longer, better quality life, including the one that I rescued. I've had her 10 years, and again, she is 17 to 18 years old as a pet, in a little doggy body, but, I think she's going to probably make it 20, 24 years because she's feisty, and the Immunocal helps her to stay that way, and you could tell the difference when they don't get it. You can just tell the difference.
So here's what we know. Immunocal works on dogs, works on cats, works on horses, works on guinea pigs, works on sheep, okay? I'm not sure about parrots. The only thing that I would have any question, I'm not sure you can give it to goldfish, okay? Don't know how you'd make that happen. But I think Dr. White is just one of these things, if you love your pet, and once again, we're not talking about a lot of money. Genece talked about it at the beginning, and so did Doug. When you take your beloved pet to the veterinarian, you have to stop by the dentist so they can pull out some gold out of your teeth. So you got the money to pay for that vet bill, right?
That's right.
Yeah. It is not an inexpensive. The animals with vets is not an inexpensive hobby, but Immunocal, for example, we have one cat now, and one package of Immunocal does 4 days. So in terms of, that's less than $1 a day, and sure better than trying to do fix a cat day with the veterinarian.
Yeah, you're talking about $20-$25 a month. Okay. Yeah, you're talking $20-$25 a month, or maybe less. Okay, maybe around $18. So you're getting it down there to less than $1 a day. With that. So Doug, final thoughts before we open up the lines?
Well, Keith, like we were talking about, this evening, your animals, they're part of our families. So we've got to do what we can to make sure that they're just as healthy as we are, and then there's another thing too, because if we take care of our cats and dogs really well, but we don't take care of ourselves, so we've got to make sure that we keep care of ourselves so we can make sure we're there for our animals. Right?
Well, and to that point though, Doug, a lot of people see what it does for their animals and they're going, okay, well, all right, I guess it's there. That's why I always like the statement, Immunocal, tested on humans, safe for animals.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well said.
And that's what we want to do with that. All right, so it's Wednesday night. It's our Products Experience and Training call. The products of Immunotech research do not cure anything. As Hippocrates said some 2,500 years ago, let food be thy medicine, most important food you can use. Immunocal Platinum, as well as our other great products. This part up until now will be up on our YouTube channel, and then we're going to open up the lines here, and people may ask questions and make statements, so we may not make it onto that part of it. So let me go ahead and open up the lines.